it's going to get bigger even still. But anyway, that's for next year. But like I said, I'm glad you're all here, and I'm going to go through some of these slides and give you the information. And then, as we go along, you guys will have an opportunity to ask questions, and I certainly we have time towards the end to ask questions too. So if you get questions pop up, please jot them down or raise your hand. We try to interject. This is just a little bit about me. I'm a registered nurse, been a registered nurse for 25 years. I'm also what's called a board certified nurse coach. Does not mean I only coach nurses. It means I'm just an RN who happens to also be trained as a coach. So my specialty is actually grief coaching. And I'm also a certified end-of-life doula through IDLM. Like I said here, I do grief loss and transition coach. I'm a certified grief doula, and I'm also a hospice and palliative care registered nurse. And I still am actively working part-time, but I'm still actively working as a hospice nurse. So I kind of have my hands in a few different things, but all of it's surrounding end-of-life and grief work. So, I went backwards. My goodness. Okay, so this is a little bit about IDLM. Some of you I know have already taken, some of our courses or are currently enrolled, so you probably know about the organization, but some of you are just, popping on here tonight. So just a little bit about, kind of how this came about, and Anna can speak more to that than me, but I know a lot about it too. Right now there's really no governing bodies over doulas or end-of-life doulas. We have NEDA, which is the National End-of-Life Doula Association, which does a lot of, education and has resources available, but there's no actual like board, like state board or national board or anything like that. So it's really important, we feel like, to give really comprehensive training, like Anna was saying before, to kind of, that's why we're always adding, it seems like we're always adding to our classes, because we discover new information, and we really want people to be as equipped as possible, when they walk away from one of our courses, to feel like they've really gotten a lot of different things. I mean, I'll even get information from some of my students as we go along. They'll make me aware of different resources or things I'm not aware of, and I'll end up looking into those things and adding some of that information to the course if I feel like it's relevant. So we really do try to give you as comprehensive a training as possible, as well as back-end support once you're finished. So anytime you take any class at IDLM, you are part of our community. You can join our group called The Movement, which is an app that has a lot of cool stuff. And really, we feel like doula work extends, even though we're end-of-life doulas, it goes beyond end-of-life. It's before, it's after. That's what I talk a lot about in the grief work, is that, with grief work, you can do it before, when someone's moving into that period, whether it's the person who's dying or their loved ones, kind of anticipating that loss. And then, of course, you have the grief that's surrounding the loss itself. And then, of course, afterward, because grief has no timeline on it. We talk about that a lot in the course, about how it's a very unique experience, and it's unique each time you go through a grief journey, depending on the loss and so forth. So, that support and that care that you can give to people can extend far beyond the actual loss that has happened. So these are just some of the things I'm going to talk about this evening. So you'll get a little information about all this stuff, what a grief doula is, how we can support people. I've already talked about that a little bit. How you might incorporate grief into your support work for your doula practice. If you are interested in end-of-life doula work, if you're already an end-of-life doula, this is a good information to have, good training to have, because you're going to come across grief, obviously, in anything you do in this area, in this field. And so it just helps for you to be more, not only prepared to support other people, but also to deal with your own grief. Because if you're already working in end-of-life care, you know that your own grief will come up for you, even if it's regarding losses from, not recent ones, not, from long ago, or certainly from something recent. And so we'll talk a little bit about the money piece and class what the class, how many modules and the different, requirements of the class and so on and so forth, like some of the nuts and bolts, so to speak. So basically, doulas provide support for the end-of-life journey, which we know. Loss is a natural part of our life and a part of that journey first, especially obviously when we're moving into end of life in any area, whether, like I said, whether it's the person themselves who is approaching that, or anybody who's involved in their care or any of their loved ones. And grief is just our natural reaction to the losses we experience. And of course, in the course, we talk too about the fact that grief is not only has to do with loss because of a death, it has to do with any kind of loss. So, human beings experience loss in all different ways in our lives. And so we talk a lot about the different ways it can come up, the different things that can cause it, the different kinds of losses, the different kinds of grief. We'll really dive into the different kinds of grief and really try to, kind of give a view of each thing. As a matter of fact, the case study that we do at the end of the class, I have case studies that are 6 case studies, I believe. I was going to add another one, but I don't think I did. Yeah, 6 case studies. And they're all based on real people. These are people that I have known and helped them with their grief, or people that I have actually, worked with, professionally, like patients or clients. And, we talk about applying the different kinds of grief to what's going on with that family or that person. And then, how you would deal with it. So after you've learned all this stuff, then you have a chance to kind of put it a little bit into practice anyway. So this is a definition I pulled together for what a grief doula is, based on a couple of different things. So grief doula is a trained doula who walks with and supports and helps those who are experiencing grief, like I said, from any kind of loss, any significant life change or transition that can cause grief. That means like relocating, changing jobs, retiring, your adult children leaving the home, getting married, having a family, changes your circumstances, financial losses, just, health issues, things that don't necessarily aren't terminal and cause death, but can really change your life dramatically because of some of the things that you lose because of this health issue or a family member's health issue. So as a grief doula, you assist people with end of life, with the grief they experience from the many losses they've already endured, things that are coming up again for them. You can help clients and families navigate, like I said, that anticipatory grief, support them while they're going through this loss, as somebody's dying, and then also following the loss of their loved one. So this applies not only to the person who's dying and the services that you're offering that person, but also obviously everybody around them. And, the work that we do is holistic in that way anyway, because we really do, include everybody who, just like hospice work does, include everybody who's really around the dying person. So, and there's different ways as you can use what you will learn. You're going to learn how to navigate your own grief too. We talk a lot about that, but also how to help support people. Like I said in the beginning, I do this work as well. I'm a grief coach. I work with people one-to-one. I work in groups. I do support groups. You can develop customized plans for people, either individuals or in a group setting, a workshop, an ongoing program. The grief coaching group program that I offer right now is it's actually 16 weeks. So it's like a 12 session. You can do shorter sessions than that. You can, and you can do it in any setting, really. Some of the graduates of the class have done things in their faith communities, in their community, community centers, senior centers, do different grief support programs, working, within a hospice setting. There's just lots of different ways you can utilize it. So you can provide, support, coaching, education, resources to people, refer them to other community programs, pardon me, or other grief professionals as needed, because some people, what they require might be sort of out of our scope of practice. They may, if I recognize when someone comes to me for grief coaching that they really have some things that need to be dealt with by a grief therapist or grief counselor, which is a different, their training is a little bit different and they have a different approach things differently. Sometimes people need that. Sometimes they can do that in conjunction with the support that you're offering them. But like I said, you're able to, help them find those resources and figure that out. And you can, initiate and guide conversations about the anticipatory grief they're experiencing, past grief experiences, what's going on with them, in the moment. And then just as a doula does, provide physical, emotional, and spiritual support to people who are dying and those involved in their care, and all around the grief piece. So So I know some of you are here tonight trying to figure out if this is the, the right thing for you to learn about, if this is something you want to add to knowledge you already have, to add to your doula practice. So, basically it's, if you want to be able to help your clients more, understand the grief process, more about the grief process and what it's all about, have the ability to advocate for them and to better understand how to manage your own grief. In putting this class together a few years ago, and also in coaching and so forth, I've learned a lot more about grief over the last few years. Thought that because I've had some major losses in my life that I knew what grief was all about. And of course I didn't. So that's one thing a lot of the students will say, that they learn things. They're like, gosh, I never knew that, or I hadn't thought about it that way. And that's really my goal, is to give you as many insights into this as possible, because of the fact that grief is such a unique experience. The better equipped you are, obviously, the better. So it helps, listen to other people's needs more fully, meet them where they are, and just hold space. That's a phrase that we use in coaching a lot, and in in counseling, and holding space for people, meaning just sort of being present, allowing them to express themselves, what David Kessler calls witnessing their grief, just being there to acknowledge it and let them know that it's okay to talk about it, and so forth. And says, can you make money by adding it to your practice? Well, yeah. I mean, if you commit yourself to learning as much about it as possible, educate yourself and your clients, ask for help when you need it, take advantage of any of our community resources. In addition to the course, we actually do a monthly grief support group that is just for our doulas. It's just in our community. And that is a space where you can talk about grief issues that you're have come across with your clients, or even things that you yourself are going through. And really, that was more what it was started for, and that was what people talk about a lot, is things that they're experiencing, maybe having a hard time, maybe a client is reminding them of somebody or some situation, and it's a really good place to hear what other people have to say, that other people maybe are going through the same thing, and sort of, again, have that witnessed. So, and we also have our business training that is available to you after you take one of our courses. And we have a whole bunch of, if you don't know about our community, we have a whole bunch of cool stuff that we do. We have a large network at this point of other doulas in different, not just here in the States and in Canada, but in a couple other countries as well. We also do continuing education. We have CE nights during the month. We have a book club. We have all kinds of great things that go on that you have access to once you become a member of our IDLM community. So basically, this course will offer you basic knowledge of what causes grief, some background on different grief theories and modalities, not all of them, but I do kind of an overview of some of the ones that, are more, perhaps more comprehensive, some of the earlier people in the field, how to best support people who are grieving, how to manage your own grief. This is a separate certification from the end of life doula certification, or the life planning, or any of our other courses. And it's, I say it's a 24-hour class because it's 12 weeks, and the weekly sessions are 2 hours a piece. So if you're doing it self-paced, obviously, hours wise, it takes however long it takes you, because even as a self-paced student, you are welcome to drop into the live class anytime you want to, or you're able to. Even with the case study, I will usually schedule a separate time with people who are doing self-study to do that. But if you are available that last class when we're doing a case studies, you're welcome to come and present your case study during that time, rather than scheduling a separate time. So you're always welcome in the live class. And then obviously, if you're doing self-paced, you can do it at your own pace. And I'm always available to self-paced students, just like I am to the students in the live class, for any kinds of difficulties you're having or questions. Sometimes some of the technical stuff I have to refer to Anna, but most of the time I can probably give you an answer. So, and just like any other student of IDLM, once you complete the course, you get your certificate, and you'll receive discounts on other classes and continuing education, different things that we have available. Matter of fact, you're obviously going to get a discount tonight if you decide you want to sign up. So classes are approximately 2 hours. They start at 7 p.m. Eastern, and they're on Monday evenings. And so I try to stay to the 9 o'clock end time. Sometimes, depending on what the subject matter is that night and how many questions people have or what they need to talk about, we might go a little bit over. But I really do try to keep to that 2 hours if possible. But I always tell people, plan on 2 to 2.5 hours. I don't think in recent classes I've gone to 9:30 like ever. And that was, I don't think we have. So I try to be good about that. So this meets once a week, and we use Google Meets just like this evening. That's the platform that we use. Do allow question and answer. I do question and answer throughout usually. Even some of the modules, I'll have a spot where we stop because some of the things we're talking about are sort of complex and might be new information. I stop and ask questions like, what has your experience been with this, or what have you heard about this, and so forth. So we will stop along the way during the class to have people, be able to interject. There is one quiz, there's a final exam, and then there's assignments throughout, not for every module, but for most of them. And most of those assignments are interactive, meaning that basically, you read an article, you watch something, I ask for your reactions to it, how you might use this particular tool if you were doing grief work with somebody, things like that. So there's no right or wrong answers in those situations. So you get to be a little creative with your responses and your assignments. And there's time to formulate things in class and ask questions. And then the self-paced, is pretty much the same. You watch the recording. If you're not able to attend the live classes, again, you're welcome to drop into live classes whenever you can. You take the quizzes, exam, assignments, whatever. Submit them the same way the students in the live class do. And like I said before, everybody has the same access to me. The only caveat there is that I do work on the weekends. Someday, hopefully I won't be doing that anymore. But right now I'm working every Saturday and Sunday. And I do actually hospice triage. I do phone triage, 12-hour shifts. So it's a little bit grueling. So I'm not really available on the weekends. If a question comes up for you and you don't want to forget and you want to email me, please feel free to go ahead and email me or message me or whatever. Just know that I probably will not get back to you until late Monday or sometimes even Tuesday, because I'm going to be switching to overnights. I'll be working overnight on Sundays and having to sleep a little bit on Monday before I come and teach you guys class on Monday night. So yeah, if you do try to reach me over the weekend, if it's something really urgent, you can always reach out to Hannah or Pam. But like I said, I'll definitely respond. And during the week, I try to respond more quickly than that, even though I have other things going on with my own practice and so forth. But just on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, I'm really not available to you, unfortunately. So like I said, if it is something urgent, you can, I went backwards again. Again, 12 modules, each one's about approximately 2 hours. We do have one that's devoted to meditation. I have a good friend who's also a nurse coach. She and I were in our training together a few years ago. We went through a training called the Nurse Coach Collective, and she is a very gifted meditation teacher. She has trained in meditation with a yogi and so forth, and she creates her own meditations and has created ones specifically for us, for people who do end of life work. And so she's really wonderful. Everybody always enjoys her class, and she comes in. I think I think it's module 7. I don't remember offhand. And then during the last module, like I said, there's a case study to present. And there are several of those provided. I think we're up to 6 of them now. So that you could choose whichever one sort of appeals to you. I don't assign them to you, even if the whole class did the same one, it doesn't matter because everybody has a different take on it. Usually though, we end up hitting on almost every one because someone will pick at least, one of those. And sometimes people, obviously, if we have more than 6 people in the class, which we usually do, then yeah. Weekly attendance reviewing is the requirements, completing all the, the quiz, the final exam, the exercises, the weekly assignments. We do have workbooks that I have for each module, and those are really just for your use. They kind of have a review of some of the things that were in the module, and that's just a chance for you to kind of test your knowledge of, and I say test, it's not something you have to turn in or test. It's just kind of go through and see if you can answer those questions, based on what you learned in the class. And those are good to have for later on when you take the final exam. The final is not really very difficult. I try not to make it It's not designed to be tricky or hard or anything, but those workbooks sometimes are a good review for you if you're, going through the final exam, and it is an open book, so you can refer back to those things. Of course, the mindfulness and meditation piece, and the case studies. Those are the requirements to finish the course, and what that means is to receive your certificate and to attend one of our graduations, which we have twice a year. Not required to attend graduation, but we certainly would love to have you there. And then these are just some of the perks you get as a student of IDLM, our Business 101 class, participation in live graduation. We have one in the spring and usually one in the fall. I think the next one's, Pam or Anna can correct me, I believe it's November. You get this actual physical certificate, which means that it doesn't come to you electronically. We actually mail you a certificate. You get a free listing in our directory. There's continuing education discounts. We have free CE nights that we offer, ongoing support, one-to-one if needed at times. And then we have a lot of sort of IDLM family events and different things that go on that you're always welcome to attend. There's a lot of cool stuff you can get. The movement membership, anyone who takes one of our classes is automatically able to sign up for that app, get into that community, which, like I said, that's where a lot of stuff goes on. Discussion groups, book club, sport group, all that stuff. The library of a lot of different resources and tools and so forth. Workshops we have, continuing education, special events, so on and so forth. There is actually a fee for the movement if you are not a student. So if you have not taken one of our courses or not a current student, you can still join the movement. There's just a monthly fee to do that, to have access to all this cool stuff that you guys would get for free. So we do have payment plans. So obviously we offer that you can pay in full, or there are payment plan options depending on what your circumstances are. And that applies to both live class and self-paced. Okay, so we're at the end here. So let me just go back. I think, did somebody raise a hand or something? I heard
no, I was just putting somebody in. But I did put in our email addresses for everybody as well.
Oh, in the chat, did you say you put in?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Anna put her email address, Pam's email address, and my email address. And as you can see here, my email address is here on this last slide. To register for classes, you can go to our website. Also, if you wanted to have a one-to-one call for some reason, go to the website. You can call us directly. And then Doula support is also sort of our main email address. So if you can't get in touch with any of us, you can also always email Doula support for response if you're having a technical problem or you have a question about something. So yeah. So now, does anybody have any questions? As I kind of ran through that, but I wanted to make sure I left plenty of time for you guys to. Huh?
Would you like me to share the movement? I can share my screen and take them into the
movement.
Oh,
yeah, that'd be great. Oh, yeah. And I wanted to, you know what? I actually had while you're doing that, let me pull up the case study because I wanted to just show them one of our case studies so they can see what that's all about.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and take everybody into the movement.
Okay. And I'm going to stop sharing this. So.
Okay. So this is our movement here. This is like a Facebook for doulas, and this is where we stay connected. So everybody also gets, when you have in a course, we have where it says IDLM courses right here. You will see that that we have different courses or groups for different courses that we offer. So you will also have one for the Greif program here. Right here. And this is where everybody shares stuff, may have questions. Lindy may post something if she needs to. You'll be able to connect as well, just have a tighter knit community for those that have taken the Greif Doula program. And so that is there for everybody. We also have other things in here. So if you go in, we have events. We hold quite a bit of events throughout the year, every month. To be quite honest with you, you probably get about 10,000 plus worth of free continuing education workshops and different things that we do. We have a mentoring group coaching call. We have our book club that's meeting. We do support groups for our doulas. As Lindy was sharing with you earlier, we have a grief support group with Lindy that happens as well. We have open office Sundays, typically a couple times out of the month. I open up a room. we're there to answer questions, to help you with classwork, or to answer questions about business. We even do a monthly gathering for our doulas. We have family nights and business mentoring, group coaching calls, all that good stuff that happens here in the movement. So as long as you've taken one of our core classes, this is access to you for free. The Student Success and Continue Learning, we have free resources. We have workshops and webinars. There's also marketing and business files. You can always go in and watch recordings. So for instance, I did one training the other day about creating your business card. And as you will see, when you click it and you open it up, you'll see that the recording link is right here. So you'll always have most of everything we do record. We just do not record our grief sessions, our death talks, and parts of the book club. They don't get recorded because sacred things are being shared and whatnot. So those things don't get recorded, and neither does our open office. So this is a really great way. You can send private messages. Like I said, it's just like a Facebook for doulas. And again, we do offer this free to all of our students.
Okay.
While Lindy is pulling that up, I'm gonna just wanted to kind of open the floor to see if anybody has any questions this far.
Can I inject something?
Sure.
There we go.
I've done this work for a little over 40 years now, and I can tell you that having a good grief course under your belt will be extremely helpful, because you may come into this work thinking, oh, I don't need to be able to talk about grief, but you will be faced with discussions on grief. You will, over the past, what has it been now, 45 days, I personally have worked with 4 people through loss, and then turned around and worked with their families through grief. So it is, to me, one of the most vital tools we can have. And I will say, I know Lindy personally, and it's not because she's one of the instructors here, but knowing her personally and knowing what she brings to this class, you would be amazed at what you'll learn. You'll be amazed at what you'll come away with. And you're learning from somebody that's passionate about the industry. That's the one thing I will say that's different about IDLM, is that all our teachers and instructors are boots on the ground. We are all actively working in this field, not 15 or 20 years ago. And we didn't decide the catchword, end of life doula sounds like something we can build a school on. Anna and I and Lindy and the other instructors, we are all passionate about this work. The world needs us more now than they ever have before. And there was some statistics recently, and I think it was in Huffington Post that I read it, that said in 2026, we're going to have a crisis. And by 2030, we're going to be in such an overwhelmed process of people that need assistance in various aspects of their life at end of life. And there's not enough of us to serve the call. So if it's something you want to build a career at, this is the place where you're going to get hand holding. I hate to call it that, but actually Anna and I have been accused of doing too much for the students here at IDLM, and that goes for all the instructors, because we're committed to making sure that whatever you're involved in, you're going to be the very best at it. And there are a lot of schools out there, but the in-depth training that you get here far surpasses anything. And I will pit our training against anybody out there. The thing that I think is, and we watch this, but the thing I think is so unique is that every time IDLM launches a course, somebody else tries to copy it. But the problem is they can't duplicate what we're doing because they don't have the manpower. And the manpower is having people that really understand and can bring their own commitment and their own drive and passion to what they're teaching you and guiding you in. And if Lindy's not available and somebody's got a problem, they can reach out to Anna. And if Anna's not available, they can reach out to me. And if they've reached out to me, they can start the circle over, and we have other instructors that will pinch hit when one of us is not available. So tell me where you can go and walk out with the founder and the director's phone numbers in your back pocket. And trust me, I'll give it to you now and you can test it. It's sitting here on my desk in front of me. You can reach out to us whenever you need something. This past weekend, I worked with someone that has taken doula training, and I did it in the course of them losing a loved one. And they were on the phone or texting me probably every hour and a half. This is happening. Is this natural? Is this normal? So they wanted to make sure they were getting it right because they were dealing with a family member. So the bottom line is, if you're looking for support and you're driven to be in this field, you will not find anybody that will support you the way IDLM will. We've got a lot of things that we aren't talking about, and some things that we spoil the punch. And one big thing that I'd like to spoil the punch on, I see Anna looking at the screen, so I don't guess I'll bring that one up. It's okay if she gives away stuff, but I'm not supposed to talk about anything. So I'll just, with that one, shut up before I spill the beans. But we are here to support you, and we are here to see to it that you're successful. And you did mention, I think you mentioned the Business 101, Lindy, and that next session is in January. Anna and I teach Business 101 3 times a year live, but that does not mean that we're not available to help you establish your business any other time. Anna and I were working with another student this morning that's getting ready to open their business, and they had questions, and we were both on a Google Meet call with them, helping them get set up.
That's why the open office hours are such a great opportunity too, if you have questions. So
we have open office hours means we're open all the time. And the other thing Anna has, I'll just throw this out there. Anna has the kids, and she also is a doula and works with a hospice, and she's got quite a load. And the benefit between Anna and I is I'm single. I don't have any kids. Anna gets up in the morning and goes till about 10 at night. I get up sometimes around 11 if I'm not networking, but then I go to 2 and 3 in the morning. So there's only a couple of hours a day that you're not going to be able to reach one of us that we're both simultaneously sleeping. So we're here to help in any way we can. Okay, I'll shut up, Linda. Lindy, go ahead and tell them about the case study, because these are always.
Well, and I just wanted to mention really quickly, when you were talking, Pam, about being available to kind of do things for people. Not this class, but my class before, not the one I just finished, but the one before, I had a student who was struggling with the final exam. And not because it was hard, but just because she had, at that particular time, she was trying to get everything done for the class. And so for other classes, she had a lot of stuff going on in her life, personal things happening. And she was just having a hard time kind of processing the information. And so I scheduled a time with her, and we went through the final exam, which is 24 questions, question by question. So I could get, her response and make sure she understood what it was. Not necessarily just for her to pass the exam, but because that's just another tool, that we all use, that's what they're designed for, to make sure that you understand. So again, there's not a lot of other places, if any, that you're going to go and, go through a course like our courses, and then have the instructors, willing to support you in that way and to spend that kind of time and so forth. So we really do try. I mean, obviously, like Pam said, we have jobs and lives and everything just like you all have, but we try our best to support you, however we can, because we want you to succeed. That's what we're here for. So anyway, I chose this case study to read to you all because it's not about, there's a few of the case studies that are patients that I have worked with in hospice. So it's kind of a more quote unquote typical setting where you have somebody who's in a hospice facility or receiving hospice care at home, and, different things going on and so forth. But I think there's like 3 case studies like that, and the other 3 are different because I wanted to show people that, you can use what you learned through the grief in any setting. If people, come to you even after a death, like you don't necessarily have to be working with them as a doula through that process, but they might come to you afterwards, because that's a lot of the work, obviously, I do as a grief coach, is people come to me after they had a loss, needing help and support with processing and navigating that loss and moving forward. So this one I will just, you can kind of follow along with me. I will read to you. Okay, so this, and of course, my case says, I change all the names to, they say, protect the innocent. So this says, Marilyn's a 52-year-old divorced female. She reconnected with her first boyfriend, Tim, and the man she always considers the love of her life, about a year ago. So what happens is like I said, you get these, you read them, you decide which one you want to do. And then what happens is you present it in class, like you read it and then you give me your answers. They met in high school, dated for about 2 years. They had a very intense, close, and loving relationship and started to make plans to get married, have children, and build a life together. However, they both came from very different faith backgrounds. When Marilyn's parents found out about their long-term relationship, sorry, I just lost my place here. They forbid her to continue seeing him, and they arranged for her to go on a date with a young man from their faith community. Marilyn's relationship with this young man eventually became serious, and they ultimately got married and had 2 children. However, many years later, they divorced after he revealed to her that he was homosexual. They remain close friends, however, though, and amicably co-parented their 2 children. In the meantime, Tim had remained single well into his 30s, as he too considered Marilyn the love of his life and the only one for him, and he had been heartbroken when they broke up. He eventually met a woman, got married, and had a son. However, they eventually divorced when Tim discovered that she had been seeing other men and admitted to him at the time that she had never really loved him and had only been with him so she could have a child. Several years later, Tim and Marilyn got back in touch with each other through some mutual friends and decided to start seeing each other again. They quickly rekindled their romance and they got engaged. They lived in 2 different states, so Tim started making plans to actually move in with Marilyn prior to getting married. However, he did not tell his ex-wife or his teenage son about his plans because he feared that his ex would try to keep him from seeing their son because he was still underage at the time. Unfortunately, due to many years of stress from his job and his unhappy marriage, Tim had developed both heart disease and COPD. And one night, Marilyn got a call from Tim who told her that he was having pretty severe chest pain, had called EMS, and was going to the hospital. She did not hear back for several hours, so she called the hospital and found out that unfortunately Tim had died. She was not sure what to do, but she ended up getting information about his wake and his funeral, and she did attend the wake. However, someone had apparently told his ex who she was, and she caused a scene and made Marilyn leave. She also told her not to come to the funeral or to speak to any of Tim's family or friends. Not that she could really forbid her to do that, but she was devastated by his death, and at the end of all the wonderful plans they had made, and she was able to share this with all her friends and family, but because of the situation, she feels she had not been able to properly and fully grieve for him and want to reach out to his son, but she can't. She feels that she was robbed twice of their life together and feels very stuck in her sadness and grief and is unable to move forward with her life. So that's a typical case study, which is based on real people. They were actually friends of mine. They weren't clients. I've changed some of the circumstances and the names, obviously, so they wouldn't know who they were anyway. So these are 2 questions I pretty much ask with each case study. What kind of grief is Marilyn or whoever is involved, in this case, it's really focused mainly on her, experiencing, and then describe as what you would do as an end-of-life grief doula to support her as she, navigates through this enormity of this loss and how it's changed her life and all the things that she would be dealing with. And, and what resources you might provide to her, what you might refer her to, and so on and so forth. So that's just typical case study. So I know somebody had, look at the chat really quick. Yeah, we do have a diversity as far as she said, how diverse our members. Are you talking about members as far as members of IDLM? Cultural sensitivity is not, there's not a module on that, and specifically, although I do refer to that frequently about how there's different ways of grieving in different cultures, and we have to be respectful of that. So that is mentioned. There's not a specific module or training on that. There should be Shelley asked if there's a course outline. There should be a course outline on the website.
Yes, I believe so. I'm actually heading there right now, but it should have the course modules that are covered in there. Let me, they shouldn't upload that. Okay.
That's why you didn't find it, Shelley. See that?
Sorry about that.
Asked.
We'll let my website let you know. But let me pull up your grief doula program and share that curriculum with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked too, Shelley, because otherwise we wouldn't have known that, and you wouldn't have gotten to see that. So
this is our portal system. There's a syllabus there for you to review as well. There is the community link, your link for your free community. Again, there's a special link for you for your group. The link goes there. And then the course schedule is right here. So module 1, how grief happens, overview, types of grief. Module 2, grief and a unique journey, myths versus facts, living with grief, grief theories, resources. Module 4, grief on the holidays and special dates. Module 5, exploring and different types of grief. Module 6, exploring traumatic loss and grief. Module 7, pediatric loss and grief. Module 8, pet loss and grief. Module 9, comfort and supporting grievers with ethical considerations. Module 10, how to meditate and can create a pathway through grief. Module 11, completing the process, final meaning. Module 12 is your grief case study. And like Lindy said, there are some changes that are going to happen next year, but we strongly believe here at IDLM, once you purchase the course, we do not, what we do is any add-on things that Lindy will add next year, you will automatically, because you've paid for the course, you will get an email saying, hey, these are the new updated modules, or these are new added modules. You will be able to either pop into the live, or you will see it in your course tab in your portal. That's across the board with all of our classes. I strongly believe once you pay, we want to make sure that all of our doulas are going out, have the very best information, current information that is there. One of the things too, I think kind of Pam had kind of touched on too, was that, you know, Lindy, Pam added up all of our years of experience, all of our instructors. We have over 200 years of experience that we're bringing to the table. We all have active practices. We're actually in the trenches. We're not like other schools where that person is just teaching. I like to call them bank robbers, because they're charging overpriced for their course, and then they're just barely giving you enough information that you need. And we're quite the opposite here at IDLM. We actually provide you probably with too much information. But this is, and again, this is in your portal. Each week I do upload the recording, and all of that good stuff is there for you.
Have any other questions? Oh, Pam, you can answer that one from Shelley about the end of life, the life care planning course.
Oh gosh, she asked, is this beneficial for people in Canada? I have a lot of Canadian students.
We are actually listed in the End of Life Doula Association for Canada, and we have tons. We even have a special group in our community app for our Canadian students.
And in the end of life planning, the advanced care planning class, I give you Canadian resources. So you get the resources that you need. So yes, it is definitely beneficial for Canada.
Great question, Shelley. Thank you.
The truth of the matter is, advanced care planning is universal. It may be a different document. It might be a different requirement, but it is a universal need. Everybody should have an advanced care plan. Don't get me on that soapbox.
Yeah, we'll be here till 9 o'clock right now.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to throw this out there. I went to a lunch today. I was introduced to somebody that is in the financial world. He is a financial planner. Hold on to your seat, ladies. He comes over and he starts talking to me, and he says, my fiance has terminal cancer. I'd like to talk to you about the services that you could give to us. I said, okay, let me just ask you a crazy question. Do you have an advanced care plan? Do you know what his answer was?
No. And he's a lawyer, right?
No advanced care plan. I've been thinking about doing it, but we just haven't done one. I said, okay, you just tell me your fiance, which means you're not married. And then when I explained to him what could happen if she ends up in the hospital, he was like, oh my God, I didn't realize. He's a financial planner. He's a lawyer. And he didn't realize. So yeah, it's huge.
Claire just asked a question about when the next class is in January. Do not have a set date yet. We usually start around the third week of January to launch the January class. That's what we've done. That's what we've done typically the last 2 years. So probably we don't have that set yet. So
yeah, what will happen is the second week of January, I want to say it's the 8th, we do our birthday bash. And that's a week long of free workshops that we open up to everyone. We have different guest speakers that come in. And then the weekend before that, the very first week of January, we do our Business 101. We actually, yes, you get the self-paced, but we offer it live several times throughout the year. And so it'll be that first Saturday and Sunday of the year, we'll have our Business 101. Then the second week is Birthday Bash. And then within the next week or two, you'll start seeing all the classes start. And
So it won't be
finalizing-
right after the new year, but it'll be, yeah, the third or fourth week of January, probably.
Yeah, and we're finalizing dates as we speak. Again, I really, really highly suggest getting in the classes now before the end of the year because prices are increasing next year as well. Any other questions? You can pay now and learn later. Absolutely.
Yes, that's a great question too. Yeah, so that way you get on this pricing, and then if you can't start till January, I'm assuming that's what you were saying, right, Anna? That's okay.
Yeah. And if you need to do that, you start now, and then we'll just put you, if we can give you the self-paced or whatever, the upcoming class that you have everything open and you get the emails. And then come January, just remind me, hey, put me in Lindy's January class, and then we'll put that link in there for you so you can pop in live, whichever's convenient for you.
I do have a couple of exciting additions coming to the class next year, so just so you know. And I said, but even if you take it now, you still will have access to those things for free. So
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Right. Well, I am so, blessed to get to meet everybody tonight and get to see some of our graduates and current students. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions that come up. But again, we'll hold that special until Friday at midnight. And then after that, it disappears.
thank you all so much for being here and for your great questions. I really appreciate it. And again, if anything comes up for you after, certainly, reach out to us via email or call or whatever, if you have any questions.